Kulanaya Foundation is creating an ocean book series for early readers. This video update will share some information about the community of volunteers who are donating their time, knowledge, and skills to make these books as accurate, innovative, interesting, and accessible as possible. It's our pleasure in this video to introduce two of the people who've been instrumental in this book development project. We'd like to share a short introduction to Fiona Crouch and Linda Elliott. In future videos, we will talk directly with Fiona and Linda about the intersection of their work, their research, and the ocean books. You may remember in a recent video we described the Blenny and Goby book, which is one of the first books in the series that will be devoted to common animals found in tide pools or rock pools. So now I'd like to introduce Fiona Crouch, who's been instrumental in the development of these books. Fiona has been involved in the planning, brainstorming, and design of these books since their inception more than 3 years ago. Fiona was born and raised in Kent, England. She was the youngest of 3 children, and her love of the sea began at a very early age thanks to her parents. Every weekend during the summer, the family would go down to the south coast, and she spent many happy days exploring the rock pools at St. Margaret's Bay under the white cliffs of Dover. And this began her lifelong love and fascination with the ocean. While getting a degree in conservation management, she spent time in New Zealand at the University of Auckland's Marine Lab at Lee. This marine lab overlooks Goat Island, which was New Zealand's first statutory marine reserve, and here Fiona gained insight into marine conservation and the need to conserve and protect our ocean. Her work included tagging sea urchins, collecting plankton, and recording the behavior of kawai, a New Zealand fish. She wrote a report called Marine Reserves in New Zealand, an ongoing struggle, which included the results of a survey that she undertook to gauge local fishermen's views on marine reserves. She also got her scuba certification and was soon monitoring New Zealand kelp forests, doing fish counts, and being dragged behind a boat on a manta board spotting eagle rays. Returning to the UK, she knew she wanted to pursue a career in marine conservation. And after a number of years working at marine reserves in Scotland and England, she completed a master's degree in estuarian and coastal science and management. Fiona is currently working for Natural England as the project manager for the Life Recreation Remedies project, working to conserve and enhance sensitive habitats such as seagrass meadows. And before joining Natural England, she spent 12 years at the Marine Biological Association of the UK, working on a number of projects focusing on ocean literacy, citizen science, and developing training opportunities for scientists and wider community. She's the co-founder and the past president of the European Marine Science Educators Association, known as MC. Fiona has agreed to help us in the development of these ocean books because she has a passion for our ocean, and she's been scuba diving for over 30 years, and for much of that time she's been developing her skills as an underwater photographer. She believes in sharing her extensive knowledge about the ocean and these marvelous images of our amazing marine wildlife as she shares our goal to inspire all ages to love and care about the ocean. A second series of ocean books that are currently under development by the Kulanaya Foundation feature marine animals and the conservation issues around oceanic islands. The first book in the series is a book to be used as a shared read or a read aloud, and it describes 5 Hawaiian seabirds and where they lay their eggs. The text will give information about the nesting and the incubating habits of seabirds, and they'll include images of their parents and their eggs. In a future video, we'll preview the book and tell you a bit more about the development process and about the rest of the seabird books in this series. But in this video, we'd like to just introduce a conservation scientist and wildlife biologist who's been the inspiration for this series, and she's been an essential resource for the development of all these books. Linda Elliott is the founder, president, and center director of the Hawaii Wildlife Center. Linda's passion and dedication for wildlife began before she was 10 years old. Her father's military career brought her family to Hawaii in 1974, and that began her interest in the island's wildlife and ecosystems. Linda graduated with a wildlife biology degree from Arizona State University, and she began her wildlife conservation career at the Honolulu Zoo with reptiles, birds, and mammals, successfully running the zoo's Wildlife Health Center. She developed major improvements and standards for the care of captive animals at the zoo, and in 1988, Linda began providing wildlife rehabilitation services to the state of Hawaii as the wildlife manager of a partnership program with state and federal wildlife agencies. Linda has been immersed in wildlife response projects for close to 20 years, working on 18 oiled wildlife responses worldwide. As rehabilitation director for the world's largest and most successful oiled penguin response in South Africa, Linda was instrumental in releasing 93% of the 20,000 treated penguins. More recently, Linda was the animal care manager working with Focus Hawaii International, rescuing nearly 3,000 oiled birds, mammals, and freshwater turtles at the Marshall, Michigan oil pipeline leak on the Kalamazoo River. During her 2 decades of work with emergency wildlife response throughout the state and internationally, Linda realized the need for a facility to properly rehabilitate Hawaii's native birds. She also realized the need for better outreach and education programs to help with conservation of our remaining wildlife, many of whom are at risk. In 2006, she founded the Hawaii Wildlife Center, and in late 2012, the Hawaii Wildlife Center opened for wildlife care. This center has completed its 9th year of wildlife response services and rescued nearly 2,000 individuals of over 40 different species of native birds, as well as the only species of native Hawaiian bat. The Hawaii Wildlife Center has also provided vital wildlife first response training programs for the Hawaiian Islands, Guam, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. Linda is the vision and driving force behind all this important work. A core objective for the Seabird books is to provide a connection between children in the local communities and actually children and families all over the world with the important work of Linda Elliott and the Hawaii Wildlife Center. Likewise, the Ocean Book Series will provide a connection to the research and conservation work of Fiona Crouch and her partners in the work to conserve the coastal habitats along our coastlines. As you can imagine, having experts involved in the development of these ocean books ensures that the books are filled with accurate and interesting information about all aspects of ocean conservation and the fascinating life in the ocean. Fiona journeys into the ocean and brings us back not only information but remarkable images to give us a glimpse into the ocean world and the lives of the animals that live there. Linda cares for and then returns the magnificent creatures that depend on our oceanic islands. Eventually, we will also have a series of books about individual scientists as they study and conserve the natural world, and by sharing with children the stories of these scientists, we can also provide them with a model for some of the skills that scientists use to make sense of the natural world. And finally, folks like Fiona Crouch and Linda Elliott are simply an inspiration for all of us in these dark times. They offer inspiration for how we all can take action to help with conservation measures and to help make the world a better place.